Welcome, students. In this session, we are going to work on management concepts further in detail, and the learning objectives shall be more detailed. Let's have a look. The first one, we should look into the detail about management levels and the skills. And we should also look in further detail about various roles, tasks, and responsibilities of managers. And lastly, we should understand further in detail about the management functions. So, in the management, we will look at levels. Yes, we look at the skills at that particular levels. Now, obviously, there are different types of skills required at every level. As I was talking to you about, restaurant manager may have, a team which is looking specifically for the functions and operations of the restaurant. Wherein food and beverage manager will have maybe 5 or 10 restaurants in the hotel, and a general manager will have not just food and beverage, he'll have food and beverage, front office, all those. So that means there are different levels, and every level will have more responsibilities. But even though they have different responsibilities, Robert L. Katz actually referred to 3 basic skills that every manager needs to have. Which are those 3? Number 1, technical skills. Number 2, human. And the third is conceptual skills. So let's actually go into detail and find out these 3 skills. As the name says, the first one, technical skills. What are the technical skills that one person may have? Now, technical skills. Let's start from the restaurant, as we say, or let's start from the tour operation. So in a tour operator, the technical skills may be how do you do booking, right? So flight booking to be done. So that's a technical skill. Or drafting a package, that's a technical skill. And that is expertise of technique of doing particular tasks, right? And this is required in a manager to know, because even though manager will not be doing it, someone else is doing it. But if there's some issues, manager should be there to actually assist and help to resolve the issue. Now, next comes human skills. Very, very important skills. Any industry, any scale, anywhere, this skill is very, very important. That means capability of a manager to build cooperation between team and the leader. That means a link between your team members and yourself. So there are a lot of research on that, a lot of studies on that. It's also going that it's called emotional intelligence, that you need to have emotional intelligence of understanding yourself and your staff members. But human skills are skills that really bring you as a successful manager. It's very, very important regardless what level of management are you doing. So even if you're at supervisory level or higher, you need to have these skills with you. And the last, which is more importantly called conceptual skills. So obviously they look at the organization as a whole. So they also understand interdependence of various organization functions. So what do you mean? So even if you are in let's a tour operator, like you're working as a tour operator and you're booking a person from going to making a tour of Kashmir, for as I was giving example. So if you're booking a tour for Kashmir for 10 days and 9 days, 10 nights, 9 nights, 10 days. So what are you looking at? You're looking at what are the different functions that you require when you're doing tours, right? So who all will be involved as an organization, and interdependence of ticketing, hotels, accommodation, stay, transportation, all those things, and who are the people in your organization who are dealing with this. So obviously you need to have to understand conceptualize that it is not that just my job is only for booking, but no, you have to go much beyond that and see your liaise with your teams and get stuff done. Now, the importance of these skills, according to Katz, depends on managerial hierarchical positions. Rightly said by me earlier that if you have a manager who will be looking at the whole, so these skills will change their level, or you can say quantity or integrity. I will tell you on how. So what happens is, let's say your front line management, or to top level management. So front level management, that is those who are dealing directly with the frontline staff. So those directly with the operators, so or the frontline staff, or the people who are working. So what they will need to have more of what skills than to a manager. That means General manager may have more of conceptual skills because he'll be designing, planning what will do, which department will be bringing so much of revenue and whatnot. Wherein the person who's there at your booking, so he's there at the front line, or he'll be looking forward to how can I get more into marketing, more into sales, or more into drawing packages. Or if you take example of a restaurant, so the example will be a restaurant manager. So the restaurant manager will be looking forward to how can he increase the sales of the restaurant, or how can he have the improved quality of his staff or skills of the staff and whatnot. He'll be more focused on them. Where at the same time, the general manager will be focused more over not just one restaurant, all the restaurants and the different department of hotels. So let's look at it. What happens is, in terms of the front level manager, so what happens is the highest level is the technical skills, and then obviously we need human skills. That's second level, and the conceptual is very less because they are more so done by higher level management, so they are just implementing and following what higher level management is saying. So at frontline level we have maximum requirement of technical skills, wherein when you go to middle level management, that means when you already reach the level of one level higher, you are a middle level manager. That means you are above supervisor, but still have managers on top of you to report to. You will need less technical, more human. You know why? Now you are following instructions from your managers and passing on to the team members or your supervisors. So here you need to have a good relationship and more, but you need to have some technical skills, and your conceptual skills or decision making skills will start improving. And that becomes more so. Your conceptual skills become, when you are top level management, the majority of your skills are actually conceptual, but that does not mean that you do not have human, because you still need to communicate with the team members, you still need to pass on the communication, and you still need to help them if they are in some issues and they have some trouble. Let's move on into the more detail of roles, tasks, and responsibilities. Now, because it is very, very imperative for us to understand that what a manager does, and what are the roles, responsibilities. Because obviously, the 4 tasks we said before: planning, organizing, and controlling and coordinating or heading, that is being done by all the managers, because that's the major role every manager has to do. But a manager has to make sure that he is making his team work towards achieving the organization goals, and always at the back of the mind, his main objective is that his team is fulfilling those long-term or short-term goals which are there set by the higher management, right? Or even if he's a higher manager, then his team is following, and also he is responsible to make sure they are not just following the goals, they are also following the goals in time, which is called performance. That means he's also responsible for the performance of his team or his staff member, you call it. Okay. Now, there are many surveys done and to understand the manager roles, and Henry Mintzberg actually gave a role, a more detailed information how it could be understood. So the first one that he gave was, it said interpersonal roles. So name says interpersonal. Okay, that means relationship, isn't it? So how between a person to person, right? So that means a manager must have, it's a role of a manager that he or she has the relation within the organization and outside the organization. That means what in the within the organization, outside the organization relationship. Okay, now the person, let's go in more detail. A manager, actually it could be a general manager or it could be a restaurant manager, depending what level he is. But if you look at general manager, he is actually heading the hotel. Restaurant manager is heading a restaurant, right? So it's a head of that particular department, right? So when you say you're head of the department, that means you must be open. You must be open and understanding and accepting everything that happens in your department, and you're responsible for that, right? Now, when you're a figurehead as a head of the family member, so everyone will approach you. So that's the first image that you should have and understanding you should have. in terms of your role as a figurehead. That means you are accepting everything that comes in the way, and you're responsible for everything. That means success of the team, development of the team, getting the targets and whatnot, and if there's any issues, to resolve that. Then comes as a leader. Now, when you say as a leader, there's a difference in a manager and a leader. So I'll not go in nitty-gritty of that, but I'll tell you a very, very simple way. A leader is a person who leads a team. Leading a team means you actually support your team members, you motivate them, you direct them, you help them to achieve the targeted goals. And obviously those targeted goals are actually the organization goals. And obviously you're accountable. Everyone who does is accountable for the action. So that's a big role that a manager has, a leader. Now, liaison. What is liaison? Liaison means that you liaise with someone, you connect with someone, you work with someone. So it's called a linkages. So that means if I'm a front office manager and I'm booking a package, or I'm a tour operator, I'm booking a tour from Delhi to Jammu as example. I was giving you example. So or Kashmir. So what am I doing is I'm making sure I have the link with all the journey of my tourist. My tourist will actually board a flight from Delhi. So from airport, who will receive, or even if the person goes themselves, when it reaches Jammu or Kashmir, who is going to receive my tourist? Where is he going to go? How smooth can I make? So travel agent over there in Jammu, person who's a taxi driver or a tour guide, then he goes all the places. And where does he stay? Where does he eat? So all those, he has a relationship in the network. So if there is any issue, what if the driver does not turn up? What if there's an issue in his car? What if there's a legal issue? What if the hotel room is not good? So there's so many things that can happen, right? So that means you need to have a very strong network where you can connect with those people and make sure you make a wonderful journey for your client, right? So that's exactly, if that was the liaison with different teams and networks, and it could be within the department also, not just outside. Now let's go to the next important role, which is called informational role. As a manager, what do? You take information depending what level of manager you are. If you are a manager who is there at top level management, so you'll have board members, right? So you'll have a meeting in the board members. You will take decisions for long term of the organization, policies and procedures. Now you will take the decisions. You will take those from the board meetings, and then you pass it on to your whole team. You could be managers, assistant managers, supervisors, and so on and so forth. Now, what if you are a supervisor, or you are a front office manager, or your reservations manager? So you will actually take the information from your senior manager and then pass it on to your team, right? So you are taking the information, that means you're receiving the information, and then you're communicating the same information. For that, as simple as that, to make sure that your team member, they know about mission, vision, and values of an organization. Okay, this further includes to monitor. Yes, what happens is, in terms of information, you need to know the relevant information, the information which is correct, and the information which is sourced, that information is gained internally or externally. What do you mean by externally? Internally, I can understand within the organization. What is externally? To know what is going on in the market, what are the latest trends, what are the latest tour packages, let's say what are the hotels doing, how are tourists liking new destination, what is the latest trend, what is the new millennials they're doing it, what do they want, and how do I merge or change myself to be as equally resembling to the requirements. So the next information in terms comes disseminator. Disseminator means to take the information or transmit the information which you receive from outside to the internal members or subordinate, as I was saying. So let's say if you see some trend outside, how do you bring that trend inside and make sure that you're giving, you're analyzing, and then you're giving the right information. Always remember, Nowadays you have social media, right? It's a heaps and heaps of information. You really don't have to study or read all the messages that you get. You have to sift which is the right information, isn't it? Similarly, the manager has to disseminate what information he has got from outside, and he can actually pass it on. Now, always remember, in terms of information, it is also the information that you as a team member, let's say if you have a team member, he or she is giving some information as a feedback to the organization and manager, or to the wants to give back to the management or the organization, or if it's a grievance. So again, you're a spokesperson. So you actually are spokesperson both ways. You're a spokesperson of your management or the organization to the team members, and you're also a spokesperson from team member to the management, isn't it? That's another job role a manager may have. And very importantly, decision making roles, yes, must accept on everyday basis, or maybe every minute. I would not say no. So he should be ready, or she should be ready for decision making. So there are further in decision making also, I would say there are 4 different roles in decision making. So let's take one at a time. Okay, I'm introducing one word, and this word is going to go a long way with us in the unit. And the word is called entrepreneur. Who is an entrepreneur? We need to understand detail later, but for now, I'll give you a person who really thinks to do something, bring a change, bring something new, initiate something, and that's entrepreneur. So that's a decision making. So he needs to find out, he needs to work for organization as if he's bringing something new and valuable to the organization and bringing up for his organization. Okay. Now, in decision making, there are sometimes not so easy decisions, right? There's sometimes issues, there's sometimes disturbances, some problems in the organization that exactly the decisions need to make made, what is to be done. And that is a role, which is another role. Now, not only that, there are other decisions that come in. Resources, very, very important, inventory and resources. So in terms of material, manpower, machinery. So manager has to take decisions so that he's using the resources the best way available and best way possible to achieve the targeted goal of the organization. Because obviously, if you're not using your resources well, it will really impact your profits. And last but not the least, negotiator. Obviously, as a manager, you should be ready to negotiate within the organization or outside the organization. I'll give you both examples. What is within the organization? Within the organization, let's say there is a new machinery which is coming up, or new software which is available. So, and that is really increasing the productivity of your staff. Now, your staff member tell you that this is the new software. If you bring this up, and you can book the directly. It's become more efficient, and you get a lot of information, and it's easier, and that will give us a better profit. Now, that will be a bit expensive software, so you need to go and talk to your manager, senior manager, saying, hey, this is what it is, the new packages come in the market, my team members are asking it, and we can use it. So you need to negotiate with the manager, right, or senior management to justify how you think you will be able to do that. And also it could be that a new software package has come, and let's say the management wants to, on the other way, if the management wants to input that new package and your staff members are not ready, saying, hey, we already doing the old package, why you want to do a new one? And then you have to negotiate and explain them how and why, right? That becomes internal. Now let's go to external. You know what? We have we have suppliers, right? We have suppliers who supply you stuff and also. Now, if there is something with suppliers, you have to bring the new supplier in the organization, and you introduce supplier, and you need to see the quotations and whatnot. You negotiate on the terms and conditions. You negotiate on the payment methods. A lot of things that you could negotiate on the quality and whatnot that are called external ones. Okay. Now, there are a lot of roles that I'm telling you right now for the managers, isn't it? Do you think managers have to do only one role? They don't have to do one role. They have to change hats, many hats, depending on the situation, isn't it? Because, and if you're just a smaller organization, I tell you, it's more than often that you change your hats very, very quickly. Now, but the characteristics of an effective manager are that we must consider is the ability to recognize the appropriate role in each situation, because as I said, you may have to have different hats, but you need to have what is my appropriate role in that particular situation and how should you behave as a manager. Now the second part, the important that the manager should do is the flexibility to change roles rapidly. As I said, you may have to take many decisions. You may be becoming it could be a front office manager, and you may have to take a decision, or you may have to go down to a supervisory level and do that, or you may have to go and have a resolve a customer query in your tool packaging, isn't it? So there are various tasks that managers need to perform. So let's look at the various tasks that managers need to perform, because managers are the people who are decision makers, right? Managers are the people who are actually supporting their team members. Managers are the people who are actually making the show go on for an organization. So need to see what are different tasks that a manager needs to do. The prime task the manager has is to have performance of the team. Yes, the manager must have to have performance of the team done. I still remember in many places I have been acting as a manager in my own personal organization where I was running my own business, or even as I was working as a manager in different organizations I've taken that position on. So there are certain steps that you must take, certain actions you must take, so that you have to achieve a particular task. And let's look at what are the different tasks that a manager does take into consideration. The first task that I would look at to give a meaningful direction to the organization or company, or even to your unit, what you are. Because if you are a restaurant manager, or if you are a travel, if you're manager of reservations manager, if you're a tour operator, you have to give a direction to that, because you are now responsible for the actions of particular unit that you are in. Obviously, money makes the mayor go. That means you need to have checks and balances. What I'm trying to say is that you must have profit generation, isn't it? And you must maintain the profit generation for the organization. Obviously, there will be a lot of challenges in doing that, isn't it? There's a lot of competition, there are a lot of challenges. As a manager, you have to make sure you meet those challenges, you fulfill the criteria and requirements in terms of competition. You look at your competitors, you see how can you make sure, bring those plans up, bring the tool packages so that you are well ahead of your competitors. Even if you're not well ahead, at least you're at par the competitors, and you actually are working for your organization and bringing the profits which are required. Now, another very, very important task of a manager is to motivate the team or subordinates. So when I say motivate the team, so what happens is, like, when you work as a human, you at times are not really 100% of who you are, so, or your 100% efficiency. So there are many ways a team manager can, or a manager can really improve the confidence level, improve the efficiency of the team. How? Motivation. Okay, you can say, hey, well done. He can give some incentives. He can give some letter of appreciation. He can look forward to training, do one-on-one, have some informal meetings, have some group, sort of a relaxed group get-together. There's so many things that you can do as a manager to motivate your subordinates. Now then, obviously, remember this: an organization is very successful due to its employees and systems in place. If the organization has a good system and good employees, I tell you, organization can never fail and they will succeed. Now, it's very well. It's a practical and ironical at the same time. What happens is that if you see a good staff member, okay, in your team, always as a manager, respect that, and keep in mind that he is a good at his or her work. He is being noticed by others. That means if his aspirations are not fulfilled and his talent will show off somewhere or here there, and then he may you must retain the talent in the organization. So if someone is good at making tour packages and or communicating with your clients and or maybe negotiating, you must retain that talent. That means the person who's doing that, who's good at those things. How do you do that? You actually communicate. You encourage a person by giving them, as I said, incentives, by acknowledging their good work, by giving them awards and functions and whatnot. And obviously, if there is something in terms of monetary benefit, why not? Because they're doing the work, they must get any incentives to be with you. Now, there's a very important thing that I want to share here, that there are people sometimes who work in a department and they retire from the department. So especially government jobs, and but in the private organization, things don't work the same way, isn't it? But not all. I know of organization where people work as a private organization. That people work for all of their life, and they just retire from there. They keep on moving ahead. They have higher positions and they move on. So that's called sense of loyalty among the employees. So when they see that their colleagues and the seniors, their peers, they have ranked up in the organization and they have got benefits and all, so and then you tell them how good the organization is, and you actually it's actually seen in your actions, and it's not that you just say whatever is their part. You look at the welfare of their your team members, you get their confidence, and as I said, due to your leadership qualities, you actually have to have those emotional intelligence about your staff members. You know them, and then you support them, and that will bring the loyalty within the organization for the team members. So they'll still be there, sticking with the organization, not leaving on. Okay. Now, getting new ideas is very, very important aspect for any organization growth, because with the change, with the technology development, with the latest trends coming up, this change is a law of nature. So that means you have to evolve yourself. You have to keep improving yourself, right? So obviously, the new ideas must be gained and attained, and you must involve your team members to get these ideas, to implement those ideas, and obviously those ideas will bring a transformation business, and they will translate into success of particular function or business that you're working on. Now, when you say so, it is also important that you get ideas, but also what about the skills of your staff members, of the team members? It is imperative, I'm repeating that, so that you upgrade the skills of the your staff members. Yes, at times it will be a bit difficult task, but it is very, very important, so that they have the updated skills, and obviously they can do the job better. And also, they're not sitting doing the same job for years and years. They're not monotonous. All right. For doing so, you must be actually, as a manager, you must be updated of the latest information of the industry, what's going on within the organization, outside the organization, what's happening with the staff, how is the staff behaving and whatnot. So these are the various tasks a manager does. So I will take you through now the responsibilities, some of the responsibilities that that is being taken care of managers. So to be very honest, if you look at it, tourism is actually a service industry, right? So in the service industry, customer really is the king. The customer comes first, because as I said, we do not have any products in our tourism. We don't give anything product. Our products are maybe tour packages. Our product may be going and staying in the hotel, wherein they don't, when they come back, they don't really bring, if they pay 1 lakh rupees going to a tour package, they come back, what will they have? They will have memories and experiences. But instead, if they pay 1 lakh to any other industry, for that matter, entertainment, in 1 lakh rupees, they may get a big maybe 60-inch TV, right? And that 60-inch TV will stay in the house for the next maybe 4 or 5 years. But for us, for tourism, we have given them a package of 1 lakh rupees, and they come back in 10 days or 5 days, and that's there in their photographs of wherever it is, and they don't have anything tangible in the hand, right? So the most important part for us in service industry becomes that we satisfy our customers, right? So we as a manager, we must be responsible towards customer, regarding the needs. Look at the needs, proactive, the concerns if they have any issues, if they have the quality of product. For us, the product is the tour package or staying in a hotel or whatnot. So we need to be very, very careful for that. So that's a very big responsibility as a manager to make sure that your team is actually following this and understanding the same way as you are. Okay. Now, a manager is also responsible in an organization towards employees. How? By making sure that their wages, the salaries are given on time, the correct wages are being given, and their provident fund is being, all the facilities and functions or perks that are expected of an organization must be given to them, to the employees or your subordinate or your team members. So it's again comes back to you as a manager. If someone has any issues, you make sure you promptly or actively go up and fulfill that issue and resolve the issue, so that team member is not victimized or not victimized. Team member is not short of anything which he is supposed to get. Okay. Now, then comes a very good relationship, as I said, that we have suppliers. Who are suppliers? Suppliers are our supporters. They work with us. Yes, they really, really work with us. I mean, use the word brother, I may not be wrong, because they are the one who bring the fresh food. They bring you in terms of hospitality, in terms of tourism. The suppliers are one. They give you different amenities. They give you, let's say, if you have a person who's supplying you a tour company is there. For the tour company, the car company, it's another supplier. Maybe the what's it called, the tour guide company is another company. These are suppliers who give you information, who give you support services, so that your tour package is complete. Because you as in yourself, you will not have everything within you. You will not have airlines, you do not have road transport, you do not have hotels on your name, you do not have all tour guides. So you may have, you're just a person sitting together as a tour company, organizing and liaising with all those people. And these suppliers will actually support you all the way along to run your show, isn't it? So it's very important for you to make sure that if you have taken the services of any bus company or a car company for for your tourists, for the package, you must pay them on time, right? And if there's any perks, anything agreed, whatever terms and conditions, you must fulfill that, right? So to make sure that you make payments timely and you maintain the relationship. So that is very, very important for a manager, to make sure that you make the payments on time. And also, importantly, because you are running a business, you are bound by law. So you have legally a responsibility to follow all the instructions and compliance of the government, because obviously we are running under the as a business, and which is a registered business. So obviously we come under law, and we will have to fulfill those by paying taxes, by paying duties and whatnot, toll plazas, whatever it is. We need to fulfill those requirements. As a manager, we make sure that we are compliant. Also, if there's any audit, we're ready for the audit, and we are doing the right thing. Now, we have talked about business, we have talked about suppliers, we talked about employees, we talked about organization, but we have not talked about a very important thing. You know what? Our society, isn't it? Because we also do business, we do everything, but if our business is not really good for our society, if we are making more of carbon imprints, so that's something which I really want to focus on, because that's something which I am more interested also. So what happens is that anything that we do is related to carbon footprint. What I'm trying to say is that how much damage are we doing to the society, to the environment? So let's take environment first. So in the environment, so whenever you do something, even this pen has a carbon footprint, because to make this pen, how much chemicals was used, how much carbon was used, how much CO2 was used. So that's called, I will not go in detail, but then yes. Similarly, when you send your tour package to a particular destination, so you are sending people over there to someone's house, someone's area, right? So they might be locals who might be living there. So if you send too many people at one place at one point of time, so what will happen to the locals, right? So tourists going over, they paid, you have taken money, they paid money, they will go and enjoy. But if there's too many at one point of time, what's going to happen? Overcrowding. Neither will your tourists enjoy, and nor will the locals. And what if there's issues, right? So we have to have the responsible in terms of what do we do, our actions, and how do we help our society? How do we make sure that we work with the locals to help and increase their profit, for the same time making sure that their culture, their values, the local flora and fauna, are safeguarding, and we're not hurting them, or we're not spoiling them, or exploiting them. Okay. Now, we also have to be very careful about religious and local cultural values. That's another aspect that as a manager we must be looking at. All this. Now, we understood that various managers do a lot of activities and they perform a lot of different tasks in the job roles, right? Now it is for us to understand that the job role that you are doing, you must be actually 100% versed in the role, that you should know your role, that's what you mean, and you should know your duties and responsibilities so that you can fulfill them properly, isn't it? Also, you must understand what are the different patterns that manager work with. Every person is a different one, right? And what exactly is going on, because as a manager you have a team to take care of, right? It could be as small as team of 3 people, or it could be 300 or 3,000 people for that matter. So you have to make sure what is at the moment trend in the market which is working, and how does it work in my organization, right? So that's the organization trends and organization management style and activities. So that should be aware of those things. Okay. Now, at day-to-day basis, you will see there are a lot of issues, there are a lot of systematic timings or schedules that you may have, and you have to make sure you are fulfilling those requirements of the schedule. So what happens is, at some point of time, let's say you have a booking at 8 a.m. with one client, and you have booking another client with 10 a.m. There's booking at another client with 12 p.m. and then booking at the 2 p.m. So you have to make sure that the 8 a.m. booking is finished and done and dusted and done, and you're ready for, you finish what you do, paperwork, and you're ready for. So you're busy the whole day, right? Now you make sure that when you're busy in the timeline, you do not give them extra timings or slots to someone else when you cannot fulfill it properly, because that will go a bad name to you and your organization. So obviously there are sometimes unexpected things happen. So you need to keep those things back of mind, just in case anything happens in emergency or contingency. What do I do? How do I do that? So nowadays with the COVID-19, obviously you have a Zoom facility where even if you can't reach, you can do it on online with different online media platforms that you can do that. So you should be ready with your contingencies. But obviously, if there are actions that require immediate attention, as a manager, please do not put it for later, because anything you put it for later obviously will actually get back to you in a big way and may not be able to complete that function properly or fulfill or justify your response to that particular. Now, what comes next? Next comes is management functions in terms of 4 basic functions. Come on, again, think about it. 4 basic: planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. So yeah, we had coordinator, I'm saying leading over here. So obviously manager must be responsible, and manager must see all those things. So now you look at it, what all is there on the head of the manager, isn't it? A lot of stuff, isn't it? Oh wow, yes, that's right. What? Having said that, these are skills you can achieve, isn't it? You can achieve those skills. Now, depending on the nature of job and the level of the manager, so there are many managers are actually, there are very functions that they do and they perform. So let's look at different functions in terms of management, which are I would say, which are done or undertaken by manager. So few important aspects of that are: number 1, planning. Yes. So the planning part is here. It's obviously you can't just say that I'll plan tonight and I'll do it tomorrow morning. No, sometimes your planning could be as big as 3 years. Your mission, vision, and values. Your mission could be from between 1 to 3 years, and your vision could be 3 years and beyond 5 years. Yeah, it could be as small as 3 years, or it could be beyond 5 years. So you have to have very much thorough that when you're going to do something and how you're going to do something. It's very, very important. And obviously, you actually must have a planning for every future activity, because obviously, if you do not plan on time, obviously, how will you execute? So when it comes to organizing, that means bringing people together and getting activities or work done. So that's called organizing, which is obviously a very important aspect of a manager, because when you organize things together, get people to work together in the teams to bring the results, obviously then comes delegating of tasks and jobs, and there must be a relationship within the employees and with you, because obviously how you put your employees where, who can have what authority and can say and cannot say what, because that's very important as a manager. Because if you do not put people in the right place or the spots in the hierarchy, so they may have clashes, and which will bring down the productivity. Now, the third comes is the leading. Well, I actually had a very good discussion with you earlier on leading, that how can you lead a team, and I gave an example of leading. So when you lead, it does not just mean you give them orders, right? So we actually work in the team and we make sure that we achieve the defined goal of the organization. There's the right planning, there's the right process in place, and if there's any issue, there's a way to resolve the issue so that your team members, they achieve the desired goals. Okay, so that's a leading one. Now, at times it could be directing. Yes, it could be directing at times, because sometimes you have to have a different hat, right? Now, sometimes people may not know what to do. They may need your direction, right? So you have to give them direction so that they can achieve their desired goals or objectives which are set by the organization. Okay. Now, obviously, as a leader or the leading role, it is very, very crucial that you motivate your team members, right? You actually are a decision maker. You are actually leading by example. Sometimes you lead by example. You're a trendsetter. So it is important. But the last and the most important thing is making sure you check and you analyze and you control. Yes, you control and correct what is not right. So whenever you see, it's actually a cyclic once. Okay, so when you've done everything, planning is done, leading is done, direction is done, everything is done, execution is done. Now you look at the control. What did we not do right? Okay, so we need to see, okay, this is what is not right. How can we make sure we find out if this is right or not? So you put checks in place. So they have to go through the process of checking. It could be that you're taking a feedback from your team members, taking a feedback from your customers, and the customers say, no, the package was not good, or the tour operator did not speak to us properly, or the guide was not doing. So that's something, a control measure you're putting in place so that you get a feedback, and based on feedback, you look at your performance, you measure your performance, and then you work on it again. So in today's session, I'm very excited that we have really covered a lot of things. So let's sum up everything that we have covered, right? The first thing we covered was that management is a distinctive process of planning, organizing, leading, and controlling to achieve the goals of an organization. So goals and achieving goals of an organization. Okay. Now, we saw the different levels of manager which fit with the various activities, right, at the various levels, and they have different hats that they need to really put on. We looked at various skills in terms of technical, human, and conceptual skills, ranging from supervisor to top level management, how the conceptual skills are highest at the top level and the lowest in terms of the frontline manager. Okay, now we discussed about various hats to be, or various roles that a manager needs to change in an organization, and various tasks and responsibilities that a manager has. Now, we also discussed about various patterns in terms of job requirements, and also we understood that how a manager is also a leader, and how they're also a decision maker, and how it's also a motivator. And obviously, a manager must consider the functions, the roles, the tasks in order to achieve the goals of the organization. So do you not see I'm repeating the word achieving the goals of organization? So that is actually the main focus comes from there, that as a manager, it is very, very imperative for you to understand that we need to achieve the goals of organization, and this is where our role comes as a manager, so that we bring those coordinated activities of the whole team to focus and bring them together to fulfill the organization goals. I hope this session, you enjoyed this session. I hope you take a lot out of this session, and you learn in terms of management concepts and functions. Thank you so much for it today, and maybe I see you in some sessions next time, and hopefully you learn a lot from this session, and hopefully I'll see you soon next time. Thank you so much, and have a good day. Take care. Bye.